Welcome into Scurry and the Scrub, another episode of our Big East week in review. Going to recap the men's and women's action from the weekend, from the week, I guess. I'm Matt DeMarinis, that's Jordan Scurry, and today we have a special guest who was very generous with her time today. Former Blue Jay Big East Player of the Year, Jaylyn Agnew, here to get you kind of caught up on what's going on in her rehab and then her professional career that has some newsworthy moments of worth updating. We actually, full disclosure, we did talk about this morning when we tried to record this. It did not go well on my end of things, not theirs. So unfortunately, Jaylyn's gonna have to rehearse her answers because we got to get you all caught up on what's going on with her before we jump into our Big East talk. So first of all, Jaylyn, thank you for your time. Appreciate you having you on.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. So I recently just started playing live again. I've gotten to hop in with the Creighton women's team and their practices. And I've also hopped in with the old man noon ball squad as well to get some up and down. So played with Flan and his bros. So that's been fun. So except for the fact that noon ball turned into 6:15 a.m. ball all the way out on the west side. So that's been a little bit of a struggle. But for the most part, it's been good. Knees feeling good. Just got to get my cardio up. And the hopping into practices have been super fun because they're obviously really good and have been doing really good. So it's just fun to see them in that aspect and try to help where I can. I
was just gonna say, we'll talk about that the Jays a little bit later, but they whooped Seton Hall pretty good. And I remember you were Lauren Park Lane in that scout, and I can't help but notice she had 4 points against Creighton and then like 30 2 days later against Providence. So how much of that are you telling the coaches that you deserve credit for? Because I'm just saying that's the look you gave them and they shut her down.
I don't know. I played her very well. She's like a 5'2" point guard. I'm definitely not that. So I was trying though. I was really trying, right hand drive, try to be shifty, which is definitely not me either. But hey, hopefully it helps. I mean, they ended up winning pretty big. So as long as it helped them, then it's all
you and I were full disclosure, you and I obviously were talking about this morning when we tried to kick this off, but it's always fun to play the scouts where it's not necessarily what you're good at, because I feel like it helps you get back to areas of your game, improving areas of your game that you normally wouldn't. I guess what's been the toughest part, I was just thinking about that too, for you, like getting back, especially with your game, you're so versatile and everything. What's been tough? Like, I mean, everything's probably tough coming back from an injury that takes that long, right? But I guess what's been the toughest part just in trying to get your rhythm back, because it takes a while.
Yeah, I would say honestly just fatigue and the cardio aspect. Like I think like the first practice I was like a little amped up because I was
adrenaline.
I was like whoa, what's going on? And then like probably like that later on that week I was like, ooh, like I'm not hitting shots because I'm tired and needing my legs under me. So I'd say that's like probably the biggest thing, which all that like obviously come, but I think that was it. Like, and I felt pretty confident about my knee. Like I'm not like ever like thinking about it or like I can't do this move, blah blah blah. So something funny actually happened the other day. I was I was park lane. I was trying to go like across the lane, right hand drive, and I was going way too fast. I was like, man, I have not gone this fast in a second. My other knee like gave out and I just like fell, and everyone's like, are you okay? I'm like, I am completely fine. I just started going way too fast and I haven't gone that fast in a really long time. So it was really funny, but yeah, I'd say just like the fatigue cardio aspect. Got to get that back going, but everything else has been good so far.
You were like shot out of a cannon for a second.
Literally, I was like, whoa! I was like, I was going. I was like, I'm about to trip over my own feet here. Like, it was.
That would happen to me because I would be going too fast and I wouldn't have the ball handling skills to try to like even like slow myself down so I would like lose the ball. I've definitely been there, but it wasn't from an injury. So
I just threw that thing. I tried to get down the rim. I was like, I don't know.
Yeah. Just gotta get it up.
Yeah.
Gotta get it up. When in doubt, get it up.
Well,
Exactly.
it's a tough first assignment. Like, she's like one of the fastest point guards in the country. So it's like, okay, we want you to simulate her and give us a look. And it's like, okay, speed.
Like, I don't know if I was that fast before the injury, and definitely not that fast now. So I got going downhill. I was going a little too much downhill.
As far as your rehab goes, like I I've been at a few workouts, but you obviously got back together with Chev, and from a strength and conditioning standpoint, got together with Brad, your former strength coach at Creighton. Like, when you were trying to build back, were you fine-tuning your current skill set that you had like pre-injury, or were you trying to add things in the meantime so when you did get the all clear, you were a little bit of a more evolved player? Like, what was your game plan going into that rehab as far as the basketball side of things goes?
I think we focused on stuff that I wasn't particularly not good at, but like stuff that I didn't work on normally. Like, I can shoot threes for days, and that's like completely fine. But we did, Chev and I did a lot of like mid-range stuff, ball handling, coming off ball screens, stuff like that I need to work on, for sure. And just being able to get to those spots and just be not a different player completely, but when people take one thing away that I'm good at, I have other options, or stuff like that. So I would say definitely working on those things that I was not the best at.
Has your confidence changed in those areas too? Because I imagine, like, when you're first trying new moves, like, trying to create new kill spots for yourself that you haven't really utilized yet throughout your career, there's probably like a little bit of uncertainty. Like, I don't really feel comfortable getting to this spot looking for my shot, right? But
yeah,
like, have you seen as the more you've worked on those things, you've seen your confidence grow and your ability to get to those spots and use those moves?
For sure, yeah. And I think like it helps, like, obviously when I'm playing Park Lane and I'm having to do more of that ball handling, like I gotta like train my mind to be like, all right, this is the time where you need to do those types of moves and stuff. So like you're doing it in like a live game situation versus like just doing them in a workout, you know what I mean? So you have to like kind of actually like translate it over, which that's never been super difficult for me, but I also think it's different coming off an injury, So just got to keep working on that for sure in live play. But yeah, it's definitely got to do it a couple times in live play before like in practice before that comes out in some games.
Yeah. When you're you first of all, congratulations is in order, because if for people who don't know, you did sign a training camp contract with the Atlanta Dream, the team that you played for in the Wubble, excuse me. So I imagine there's like some relief there for you, because at least it gives you something to in the spring where you can kind of see, all right, I have a plan here, and then whatever happens after that, at least I can map out something up to that point, right? As opposed to just trying to find something in the winter and then not really having an idea of what happens when the overseas season ends.
Exactly. Yeah. So I got the qualifying offer like as soon as they were able to like send them out. And so I'm super excited for that, because like you said, there is a little bit of relief, especially with the short time period I have between now and then, having to go overseas and like not particularly worry about putting up numbers or just getting my feet back under me and that type of stuff. So I would say it takes the pressure off in that sense. It's obviously still going to be like pressure filled, I guess, when I get there and like do stuff. But yeah, in the overseas, I can just like play and like just kind of get, like I said, get my feet back under me versus having to worry about all these other factors.
Do you have a plan for overseas yet? Do you know what you any like destinations in order or prospects?
There's a three-ish options right now. And so my agent is supposed to actually talk to me sometime this week to get it figured out. But I think we're thinking about like the end of the month signing and then having to be over there in like within a week. So yeah.
That's
a quick turnaround.
Yeah.
In a week?
Very quick turnaround.
All right. That's
Yeah. So yeah, and like Petra, the trainer for Creighton, like she's been helping me a lot too. And she's like, you'll be fine. Like, I just want you to like get some playing in, like definitely keep hitting the weights hard. And like that stuff will like come quicker than you think, like basketball wise. So like for that timetable, like I think that's like totally fine. And like I told, this was like earlier, or when I first started like playing live the last like 2.5, 3 weeks or whatever. So I was like, it's great, sounds good. So then like now it's happening and I'm like, oh shoot. Like,
it's
I'm
here.
ready for like here. Yeah, you know what I mean? I'm like,
Yeah.
So, and I knew it was gonna be like that, but still like having it like be real, you know.
And so what is that timetable for when you go out there? It's a couple months.
So it'll be a couple months, yeah. So depending on where I go, will depend on how long I'm out there, but at least probably 2 months, 2 to 2.5 months, and then come back and hopefully either go straight to Atlanta and get like a couple days off, go home, and then go to Atlanta from there for training camp. So
are you thinking about Russia again? Is that, or is there something?
No, Russia. I'm not doing Russia. You know, bad vibes. Bad vibes. But they're also the way they like do their seasons, like they have like a what's it called, deadline for like signing people, and so it just would be too late anyway. But I also want to try like different places. Like if I like love a place and I want to play there for a couple of years, like that's great. But I kind of want to bounce around and like really experience all that. So
yeah, that'd be really cool. That's the cool part about playing overseas. Like I know there's some horror stories to it, but I just the experience just seems like it just changes you for the better. Like it's just like having to learn how to live in a different world. You know what I mean? It's like, it's kind of cool.
It's insane. And and now like people I've talked to and like, they're like, oh, like I kind of want to like move to like New York or like California by myself. I'm like, do it. like do it. Like it'll like be like change your perspective on stuff. Like it was like very similar. Like I'm halfway across the world living by myself. Like what am I doing actually? You know what I mean? Like it's crazy. So I'm like, honestly, just do it. Like, and it'll figure itself out, you know?
Yeah. Your situation's like altered to a crazy degree too. Cause your first like, adult experience, I guess, if you will, was like a little hotel room for 3 months. Basically. It's like, there doesn't get more extreme, like isolated circumstances than that. Like you can handle anything at that point. Like,
that's what I'm saying. I'm like that being in the bubble, like having no outside interaction, being home for 5 days. Oh, and then on top of all this COVID, being home for 5 days, going straight to Russia, and then not being able to talk to anyone outside of my teammates, who I still couldn't even talk to some of them because they didn't speak English. And then living in and not going to the grocery store and like having to figure out like what everything is, and because none of it's in English, except for some of the brands, which was very helpful. And yeah, it's just like crazy.
Yeah. So is that gonna lean into where you're thinking of going next? Because that's kind of what led to like that, when I couldn't imagine going in on top of COVID and everything that was going on at the time. Like you went to go overseas. I was like, I couldn't imagine right now, because it's just different. Because that is the thing. Like I think everyone who goes to play overseas loves is like you get to see different, like the way different countries live and all that. But you kind of didn't get that as much because of COVID. So yeah, are you leaning more towards somewhere that you might be more familiar with rather than like Russia or Eastern Europe, I guess, right now?
Yeah, I would say so a little bit. I don't know. I feel like just Eastern Europe is tough in general in that aspect. So like honestly, anywhere in Western Europe, like they can at least speak a little English, like for the most part in those places, or like their languages. Like, I mean, Italy, Spain, like I know Spanish enough, and like they're not that different from each other. They're very similar.
Right.
You can probably get by like reading a menu, you know, versus me having to say "Uvas yes anglesco ye menu," which means do you have an English menu? Because that was awful. Literally, like I had this stuff like ingrained in my brain because like I just it was just so hard. I had to learn like Russian, and yeah.
Well, we don't want to bring it up any more PTSD. Sorry, we had to go there. Sorry, didn't mean to go there.
That was a crazy flex right there, though. Just not that whole line.
Thank you. I have or just the team, but you know.
I did want to ask you about the dream a little bit, though. First of all, Jordan would probably laugh at this. Like, there's not much tampering going on in the W. Like the NBA free agency period, like within 24 hours, all the rosters were remade. Like the WNBA is like snails crawls right now. So technically, you're part of the starting five right now for Atlanta because they basically have.
Yeah. Seriously, I'm like, let's go.
It's kind of funny to look at, but the other part of it is too, I hadn't thought about this until it hit me this morning. Today's Martin Luther King Day, and you and your Atlanta Dream teammates obviously had a huge outreach from a political standpoint while you guys were in the bubble. Got the, with Raphael Warnock getting elected in the runoff in the January elections in Georgia. I think he was the first Black senator in that state's history, if I'm not mistaken. And then you won the humanitarian award at the, I don't know if it was the ESPYs. Was it the ESPYs or was it something different?
So it was like a version of the ESPYs. So the ESPYs was the night before, but it's like the ESPN Sports Humanitarian Awards, Humanitarian Awards, I think. But it's like the ESPYs, it's like they're all together, but just like separate nights, kind of.
Yeah. So what was that experience like? Because that was kind of cool to like, it was just something again where it was like, oh yeah, man, this team really did something a little bit different than just, say, hey, vote for this person, basically. It was a little bit more than that.
Yeah, it was super cool. And like, even we said, like, it wasn't just our team, but like the entire W was like behind us, like it was like Sue Bird's ideas for the shirts. It was obviously like our ownership, but like everyone else was behind us too. And then just to be recognized for that, like ESPN, like in front of all these like people are doing other amazing things. There's like a super like uplifting like program, I guess. Like there's all these different stories of like how these people are helping everyone else, and it's like, and we were the ones that were like chosen to win out of all these people, so I think that was like super special and just like super cool to share it. Like got to see not all my teammates, but some of the girls I was closest with there, and like we haven't seen each other for a really long time, so that was super fun, and because of COVID and stuff, and the coaches and like our trainer and media people, so it was really fun to see all them, and yeah, so it was just a super cool experience to see just like how the sports world can be super impactful in everyday life and in the world.
Yeah, because I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't know if you would consider yourself a I don't know how I want to phrase this, but like super politically aware at Creighton. Like was that something you were a part, like is that like who I felt like it came out more in the Wubble as opposed to the days in your college days.
Yeah, I would say so. I would say it came out more so in the Wubble. I mean, not saying like peer pressure or anything, but it's almost like peer influence was like way easier, to like be able to like voice what you thought and stuff, because everyone else was doing it too. So and it was for good cause, obviously. So yeah, just for everyone to like rally behind each other too, I think just made that step easier.
It's like you said, it was like an uplifting experience, so you probably had more confidence to be outspoken knowing that you were with your peers who were also trying to highlight issues, right?
Exactly. Exactly, 100%.
And I don't know if there was where like at Creighton too that like we can give our like political opinion as basketball players. I don't know if that's ever that relevant, but I mean that's why you were thrown into it, right? When in the Wubble. So yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to think of like when you were thinking she was supposed to express her, like political beliefs in her playing career there, Matt. But hey, I don't know.
Well, that's I don't know, but I it's interesting because when Colin Kaepernick kind of intersected sports and activism again, it's not like it's not sports and activism as it hasn't ever been, a topical issue, but I felt like he reignited it a little bit, you know what I mean? And some people who hadn't really thought of it from a worldwide viewpoint were starting to see things in a different perspective. And that was right around the time, like I said, you and Jaylyn were both like freshmen at Creighton. So that I just, I was kind of curious, like, did you go in like that, or does it develop with, at Creighton, or were there times where you felt like there were issues that could have been addressed that weren't? And then like, how did the wobble and being with Atlanta and just that whole summer honestly changed people's willingness to speak up, because they feel like it's just time now.
Yeah, I would say there also comes like a maturity kind of aspect in that, like being a 17-year-old like coming into college. Like, I'm gonna just be honest, that's not the first thing I'm thinking about. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I just want to like play and like have fun, it's college, blah blah blah. So I think there's like a maturity level at some point to where you like are like, there's like real problems in the world that like I'm not just a kid that like is blinded by like just like regular stuff, So I'd say that's part of it. Not using that as an excuse, but that's part of it, I think. And then I think just like getting older and realizing those things, and like you said, just being like thrown into the bubble in it, and then you're like, it's like in your face like every day, and you're like, these are like real problems. Like, we're standing up for people who don't have a voice, and being able to put this on a platform that more people will understand and be able to see. So I think that just made it easier, and knowing that like some like people are going to get stuff out of it, like because of the platform that you have, I think also makes you like want to speak out more, So I would say that I think that's probably.
Do you feel like I think you highlighted that pretty well, because do you think that I guess that responsibility just comes from being a professional athlete, because like that's the difference, right? Because at Creighton, you're in college, you kind of have your priority isn't really that until you become a professional. Do you think it was becoming a professional that was like, okay, I have a responsibility to speak out on these issues now because I play on this stage and I am a professional athlete?
Yeah, I would say so. That definitely has like that platform that you have, knowing that you'll have more reach, from that aspect, I would say definitely helped. I would say that's probably one of the reasons too, I think.
Yeah, because it probably is kind of tough to be like, try to be a bigger fish in a small pond. Like, how much of a ripple effect are you really going to create if you speak up in a smaller, tight-knit community, as opposed to when ESPN's broadcasting all of your games? All right, how do we use, we've got a 2-hour window to hoop right here, but how do we use that to also speak out on certain things? So that way it's kind of like in people's faces, even though they're just trying to watch us play basketball.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think that's what I think the W has done a really good job of, is like, ESPN gave them a platform, right? But there probably could be some apprehension on the league's part, especially from leadership down. Maybe not so much as players, but leadership down could have been like, hey, look, let's try not to rock the boat here and ruin our opportunity to get on a national stage. Like, players and like the coaches and like they were all like kind of screw that from the jump. They were just like, no, we're gonna run with this thing. Like, they gave us this platform. It's the biggest in sports, and we're going to use it to highlight as many humanitarian issues as we possibly can, in order to cultivate a positive change as quickly as possible, where it's not happening in slow motion or later on down the road when it doesn't affect our children even. So I think that's one thing that like the W deserves credit for, is just being courageous enough to like take that platform that they were given and absolutely just run with it. Like, start sprinting to make accelerated change, whether it's from social issues, or whether it's just from like female sports, like trying to get more access to more people so they can kind of catch up in terms of creating opportunities for females and young girls that didn't have those opportunities front and center, Jaylyn, like when you were a kid, you know what I mean?
For sure, yeah. And like the one thing that the W like prides like ourselves on is like we are a player-led league. Like they're not gonna like say no to what we want to do. Like being dead serious. Like when we all want to do that, they're like, whatever you guys want. Like you guys have to come up with a decision. So we're talking every like team, and like our leaders are like talking to each other. We had to like, if you guys had watched 144, we had like an entire league wide like meeting, like talking about stuff and like what decisions we made in that was like what's gonna happen. Like obviously the league has like some sort of say, but like for the most part, like it is very, very, very player led, which is super unique. And just super grateful that they, allow us to kind of take charge in that aspect.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate you more ways than not just for your basketball, because that stuff was powerful. So
absolutely. And especially just to highlight like your team one last time too, I think it just shows how powerful it is, like when you actually have people that come together and like actually get things done. Like I think the W's been great because women get shit done, and that's highlighted it, because the conversation is like that conversation, there was action behind it, right? Like you guys came together and then got something done, and it shows how powerful coming together and like uniting for change can be. And I think the W is like how
yeah, like that's like the best. Like we have some like smart ass women in those locker rooms, like so freaking smart and like very like strategic about like how we do certain things. And so that was like a really big thing. Like, all right, like will this have apprehensions on our like TV coverage if we do this? We'll like we have to come up with something, like you said, an action, not just words. And like those types of things that like not everyone would think of. And like not to knock the NBA, like they're their own entity, but like when some teams are like kind of sitting out and like they don't really know what was going on, and it's like we need to come together as a collective unit and have each other's back versus like teams going against each other and just not having like not being like united and unanimous in that.
Yeah, because honestly, I'll never forget that day where I think you were about to play Washington that day, and it was the day that Jacob Blake got shot, and the Milwaukee Bucks I think they were playing Orlando in their opening round playoff game. I think it was maybe game 2 or something, and they said they weren't playing. But that was more like Milwaukee just kind of made that decision on Milwaukee's own, right? It wasn't like a league decision. But through that, like again, when I'm talking about the WNBA players running with something, they're like, look, let's do this as a league. Like, we're all right here. We can all talk about this right here and now. Like, let's not just leave Milwaukee out in the wind and let that be a Milwaukee issue. Let's let that be a national issue. And like, you immediately took what was supposed to be a doubleheader night of basketball, and I'm getting chills just remembering it, because there was that meeting right there on the court, right? And then I think Elizabeth Williams was who spoke, your teammate, who spoke on camera on ESPN, and just basically declared that, like, we're not playing until something happens here. Like, so that was really powerful. I remember that, and I don't think I'll ever forget it, honestly.
Yeah, like being there, like was even like there's like, because we didn't see the like mystics like there, and like we were already warming up and they hadn't even gotten there yet. And so then we were like talking about it, and then we're like, well, the next team, like we're either need to like figure out the play, or if we're gonna play or not. Like we need to warm up, like no one's trying to get hurt out here. And then the other 2 teams that were gonna play after us are like coming in, so we ended up talking with them, and it was like this like whole huge thing. And then all of a sudden the teams, there's supposed to be another game that night, and those 2 teams are like, do we come and talk? and like, do we end up coming? So then I think they ended up coming just so that we could all talk. And then that evening we had the like whole league-wide meeting. And so, yeah, just like being a part of that and just like being in those rooms where people are talking and like hearing all the different perspectives. And like I said, like everything behind it, it was just super cool to be part of.
Yeah, if people haven't checked out that 144 special, that ESPN 30 for 30 on basically it was life in the Wubble, but it was how those just how like the league just ignited this political activism within itself, you know what I mean, and basically changed the country over it. Like honestly, might probably even change the world. So yeah, check that out if you haven't, because you're going to get a good perspective on how all that came about. It was a really good documentary. Jay, you want to give us some Big East basketball takes? You want to jump in our Big East weekend review here and drop some knowledge on people?
Do it. I'll try my best.
I think we usually start with the men's side. So obviously, they got a few games off, which is good. I guess first and foremost, that's important, right? Because we had
getting 2 games in a week is like a win now.
Literally.
What was the we had like a hiatus this show did like over Christmas because there was like 3 games from basically a week before Christmas to New Year's with all the cancellations. It was insane. So UConn won in overtime at St. John's at home. Nova hung on against Xavier on the road. DePaul shocked Seton Hall. Then Seton Hall turned around and lost to Marquette, who's rolling. Butler beat Georgetown, who kind of everybody's beating Georgetown right now. Nova smacked the dog crap out of Butler, and the Jays fell at Xavier. So I guess when you just let's try to do it this way, like just take out one game from that. Like what stood out to you in terms of your most eye-opening performance of the week that you feel like is worthy of notoriety today?
Oof, that's tough. That is hard. I don't know if I can choose one.
There's no wrong answer.
Yeah, there's no wrong.
Yeah,
I'll tell you what, if you want to play off this just to kind of clown me a little bit, one idiot on this show said Nova was like going to lose like 5 league games and it's going to be a battle for the league title. And I don't even know if Nova's going to lose again, honestly, like the way they look right now. So that take of mine is not aging well. So if you want to just like use that as a launching pad to clown me over how good Nova looks right now, that you can do that.
And if you need me to add to that, if you want to add to that too, another idiot from this show said that Seton Hall was one of the most complete teams in the Big East last week.
He did.
And then they went ahead and just dropped 2 straight. And they were missing Miles Cale for, I think, at least one of those games. But bad takes. So it's bad take season here at Scurry in the Scrub. So don't feel pressure. Don't feel pressure.
That is okay. But I mean, I just enjoy watching Villanova in general. I like people I talk to. I'm like, watch Villanova if you want like fundamental, like very clean, good basketball. So I watch. They're probably like the second like team that I watch the most out of Big East, obviously besides Creighton.
That's because you're a Jay Wright fan. Don't lie to the viewers.
I do. Right. I will say that you are correct. He, just like George Clooney, but he's like a couple notches higher, I think, because of basketball background.
George Clooney.
Okay.
Yeah. Like the suits and stuff, like salt, pepper, So, he's a great coach, obviously, but they're just like fun to watch. And I'm not like showy in my game, and like, so I'd like to think, if I was on the men's side of things, I fit in well.
That's not a bad. That's a good take. I could see that. I
feel like yeah. So I have a little soft spot for them, I think, just from that aspect. But yeah, they are playing very well right now. When Creighton lost to them, I was kind of surprised at how poor the loss was, because I was like we were playing pretty good, and like but then all of a sudden I look up, I was like on the phone or something, and I looked up and it just like was at 30.
Yeah.
Like, and I was like, when did this happen? Like, it was way too quick. But yeah, I don't, like you said, I don't know if Villanova is going to lose the league here anytime soon unless something major happens, but they're looking very strong.
I'm not gonna pick it to happen again. Like, I'm gonna be careful because it's like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They just I think they took it personally. Like, Creighton housed them, and they're like, okay, we're not just gonna win these games, we're gonna make statements. And it's like they've just made a statement on everybody they've played from then on. It's like, God dang, they're just.
Yep.
I kind of laugh though, Jordan.
Practice that. Yeah.
Because Jordan said this. That there's like a thing with the league, like when Creighton beats people, they take it as like a personal insult to like their program's history. So like you look at like,
I feel like that's how it is on the women's.
It is, yes. See, that's what I knew you could back this up. I don't know what it is, but like whenever we would play teams, it's like they have this. Whatever the idea of Creighton is on the men's side, it's probably similar on the women's, but it's like they still think it's just like this little Missouri Valley team of white boy like. Just shooters or something. I don't know what it is, but they're like, oh man, we lost and I'm like, are we not credible now? Like, do you not see all the NCAA tournament appearances? Like, what do you mean, little Creighton? Like, I don't think it's little anymore.
We get everyone's best game, like everybody's best game. And it's like, why us? And like the person we're like supposed to be like not helping off of like completely, but like not playing as tight will be the person to go off against us every single time.
Mm-hmm.
It is just ridiculous. And so like, no, we get everyone's best game too. And it's just like, makes us better, obviously, but sometimes it's like, why? You know,
and it's not even, it's like a hatred thing too. It's like, we're not letting Creighton beat us. Like we're not letting it happen. So we're going to show up and play. It's like, why you gotta bring that kind of energy to us? We're just Creighton. Like, just trying to have fun out here too. It's funny though.
Yeah, like.
Yeah. But like, yeah, Marquette and Villanova took the Creighton losses personally because they are wrecking shop right now.
Yeah, Marquette,
yeah. Well, they did a Providence.
Well, I mean, I just hope
we on like Cinemax or something. That was bad.
I just hope that it's not the same as when I was there when we beat Nova into a national championship. Like, I hope this Creighton team didn't beat them into. Like, I hope they don't go on to win the Natty now just because Creighton beat them early in the season. Like,
I need to make note of this. What day is it?
January 17th.
January 17th. Yeah, you need to make note of this because you said it.
It's
we got it in recording now.
I mean, that was one of the most. It wasn't just like they won the Natty. It was one of the most dominant runs through the tournament, like in NCAA tournament history. And it all started
because they
beating them. Like,
and I like to think, this is just me being ridiculous, but I like to think like what happened was every night Jalen Brunson was like, "Yo, we really lost to Creighton. We got to go win the national championship." I don't know if that's right, but in my head, I like to believe it because it sounds good.
Yeah.
He's like walking out there against like Devontae Graham in Kansas. He's like seeing nothing but Creighton jerseys.
He's like, yeah.
Right.
Shows violence. He's like, it's like blacked out in his eyes. They're like, "Yo, is this dude good?"
Bill Self's over there with his Southern draw, and all he sees is Greg McDermott and like Preston Murphy. He's like, "No, fuck this. We're killing this team."
Literally.
Must win.
Yeah, they look like world beaters. It's crazy. So yeah, I'm not talking any more trash on Villanova.
Yeah,
I'm sorry I did it in the first place. I should apologize to Butler because what happened to them this weekend is like, I'd go on like 7 COVID pauses in a row after that because like
right.
That
was bad.
Butler's tough. It's hard to win games when you don't have like a best player. Butler doesn't have like a best player. So
true.
They've got a defined best player, really. They have guys who are the best at certain things, but I don't think they have a best player. That's a hard place. It's a hard place to be for any Big East team.
Yeah, and it was a shrewd move on Nova's part too, because normally at the Wells Fargo Center is when teams clip them. You know, like they're not as good at Wells Fargo as they are at the Finn, but they brought the Finn court to Wells Fargo, so I think it just like I don't know. It was like they brought some of that magic with them this time, which was pretty smart, I thought, on their part. And so it wasn't the 76ers court, it was the Finn court. So
that's smart. Yeah, that is smart.
Yeah. So it looked like the Finn, even though they were at Wells Fargo. But they sheesh, poor Butler. Yeah. Did you guys watch Creighton Xavier? I came away with that from that performance encouraged by Creighton because I felt like they lost the game more than Xavier took it from them. I was just curious what you guys thought. Like how'd you leave that performance?
I mean, I agree. I thought it just got to a point in the second half where they were kind of like hanging around and one team was going to go on a run and Creighton just didn't do enough, I guess, to like, they didn't seem to have any juice flowing. There was less transition in the second half too. So I think Xavier kind of like got the crowd behind them, got their pace, had a little run where Creighton needed to kind of respond with their own. They just never did. And that kind of just ended up being the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say just very similar. They just kind of beat themselves, especially like the turnovers and stuff. But yeah, just, like obviously you want to play good every game, but there's going to be some games like that where it's just tough to buy a bucket.
Yeah.
I mean, thankfully we were shooting decent on the women's side, but like St. John's is making everything this weekend.
Yeah.
And so like very similar, like if we would have like lost that game, like it's like one of those things, like just they're making like ridiculous shots and like just couldn't buy a bucket. And so yeah, it's just very, very tough.
Yeah, I
think the difference is though with the women, I think got to that point where the game was close. I watched that whole game, and then where it was close, I think it was that, right? It was really like beginning of that fourth quarter where it was just close. Both teams were hanging around. The women like went on a run and caught a rhythm and started hitting shots and the backdoor cuts where the men kind of didn't have that juice. And maybe that was just because the women were at home, men were on the road, couldn't really have that juice. But I was kind of expecting both games. Like I ideally both games would have ended up like the women's game because they just like kind of hung around to a team that was hitting crazy. They were hitting tons of shots and then was able to pull it out. I mean, took a 30 ball from Emma at the end there, but that's what it was. They were hitting and the back cuts. I also love the four quarters. I know I'm new to like my women's basketball commentary, so you got to help me out. Jaylyn, you got to help me out here, but I love the four quarters because it's easier to break down the game in that way. It must have been much easier to play it like from a mental standpoint.
I love the four quarters too. Like,
yeah.
And we don't have like 1-on-1s and stuff like that. Just like sometimes I forget when I'm watching the men's game. I'm like, oh wait, they still have 1-on-1s. Like that's crazy to me. I don't know why, but it just is. But yes, I do like the quarters. I think it helps a lot, and like you have more times where you can like reset, like especially stuff that's not going well. It's like, all right, like we need to reset, like win this quarter versus like these long drawn out halves, So.
Yeah. My last thought on Creighton Xavier is like, I just think it was one of those games where it just like it accentuates the idea that there's possessions 20 through 30 mean as much as possessions 60 through 70. You know what I mean? I think that's where Creighton lost the game was, I mean, they had 13 first half turnovers and they were up by 5 at half at Cintas. Like, I just don't know how that added up, but it did. And to me, it's like, all right, if Creighton takes that turnover number down to 6 or 7 and continues to shoot the way they were shooting and just execute offense the way they were executing, especially with their pace. I thought their pace was awesome in the first half. I just thought
it was a drastic change. I thought in the second half.
Yeah.
I don't know where it came from.
So if Creighton had a bigger lead at that point when they were playing well and just like playing through the turnovers, I think that game would have ended up differently. But the turnovers just allowed, like they just created too many empty possessions for Creighton at the end of the day. And like you said, Jordan, when Xavier made their run, it was already a game for them within reach, where the run they made got them over the top instead of got them even. You know what I mean? So that's kind of where I see it. That's why I'm kind of encouraged because, the Jays have played 4 games since December 17th. Is that what it is? Right. They've played Nova twice now and split it, which is not going to be easy for anyone in this league to do. And this young Creighton team's already done it. They won at Marquette, which looks like it's going to be impossible for anyone else to do the way they're playing. And then they played tight at Xavier. So I think like 2-2 in that stretch for this team, that's a pretty good confidence booster. I think there's going to be a lot that they can take away from this, positive and negative, that they can learn from. And if they can just get some games going with like a flow where you're just not having cancellations and it's practice, play, that kind of routine they can settle into a little bit, I think they can put a run together, maybe even. So we'll see. But I think this 4-game stretch is encouraging because it could have been a lot worse considering how staggered these games were for them.
Yeah, I was gonna say that also just has an effect too. Like if you're just practicing when you're like supposed to be playing games, like, and you get to play a game and you're like, well, we've been practicing like just for 2 straight weeks and haven't had any games, you know. So that that part is also has like an effect on that stuff too. So and I just hope that both. I'm not gonna even say anything. I'm just gonna leave it like that. Not even say anything.
She doesn't want to put any of the apprehension out there.
Nope. I'm just gonna leave it out, and then God can decide. I just don't want to give it life, you know.
Smart.
That's how Jordan rolls. That's how Jordan rolls too.
Yep.
He's like,
don't jinx things. Don't jinx things.
Yeah, I mean, and their net is 55s right now, so like they're not, you know, they're a winning streak away from being a darling again, you know, and being an NCAA tournament team on the right side of it. So I think that goal is still within reach, which is impressive considering the schedule they've had to deal with so far. Like I said, on the women's side, a lot more games were played. So they've had a little bit better luck in terms of COVID cancellations. Providence had a 3-game week. They beat Xavier and St. John's, and then got housed by Seton Hall. Marquette and DePaul played probably the game of the week in the Big East, honestly, and Marquette won that one in overtime. Then DePaul turned around and beat Nova despite Maddie Seegers going for 31-14. And then Villanova turned around, beat Marquette on the road. Like, that's a big win for Nova. And then obviously the Jays handled business like they've been doing. I think they've won 10 of 12 now and swept Seton Hall and St. John's. And I don't know how often the Jays score in the 80s. Like, it's just easy. But you talked about Villanova's offense earlier, Jaylyn. It's what Creighton's doing this year is some beautiful stuff. Like, they are, I mean, first of all, they're first in the country in assist rate. So like everything they get is like, there's no dribbling involved. When you catch it, it's a bucket. So it's just fun to watch them move, cut, screen, the jump stops, the shooting, the inside out game. Tatum Rembau's playing insane. Emma Ronsick's the Big East player of the week today after averaging 28.5 in those 2 games. Like,
buckets.
I mean,
buckets.
I mean, that's they have a special offense this year.
It's so fun to watch.
It's crazy.
So fun to watch.
For sure. Yeah. No, I mean, it's been fun to like see everything, like see how they're practicing and be able to be on that side of it too. And like I a couple times had to guard like Morgan or Emma, and I'm like, I'm sitting there and like I've been saying about how like my conditioning needs to be better, like my cardio. So I'm looking at them. I'm like, all right, like, what are you guys running? I know you're gonna come off screen. So I know all these screens are gonna be set for you. Like, just tell me right now so I can like figure it out, like messing with them. But yeah, they're doing very, very, very well, and I'm just super happy for them. It's like you said, fun to watch, and I know they're enjoying themselves and trying to be positive about all the COVID stuff too. But yeah, they're a squad.
Yeah, I just don't like. It's funny too because they whipped Seton Hall, which, you know, they've done before. Seton Hall can get a little bit internal when things go sideways on them. But that St. John's game, that was kind of a game they'd lost a few times this year. You know, they lost a shootout at the buzzer against Drake, lost a shootout at the buzzer against South Dakota at home. You know, lost a tight one to Nebraska. So like they hadn't done the whole like complete the comeback thing. You know, they'd done it like maybe in the third quarter where they rally and get over the hump, but they hadn't done it where it's like, okay, St. John's is kind of scoring at several different spots. Correa's having a good game. Kadeja Bailey's having a good game. there's not really matchups that we can. Those are matchups that St. John's can continue to exploit, and they did. So they were putting pressure on Creighton to continue to execute offensively, and Creighton did. So I think that's like, as much as Creighton's been playing well, I think this game is going to serve to even enhance their confidence even more, because it was a St. John's team who was throwing their best punches at the Jays, and the Jays kind of stood in there and still made the plays down the stretch that allowed them to win.
Exactly. And like, I forget what year it was when I played, but there's one year where we just like had all these like comeback wins, and like in the third and fourth quarter, and like we'd end up finding a way. And then like throughout the like end of the season, like all of those games, like their games are becoming harder, and like you're playing these teams twice, and like those wins help you in those other games, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So I think like the more times they can like come back, and I'm glad they like have done it like this time. The more times that happens, they can do that, will just like help them like later on, you know, in conference tournament and hope NCAA tournament and stuff like that. So
yeah, so Jordan's been a big fan of the hybrids this year, so I know he's got some takes on Morgan and Emma just being like, I don't even know, man. It's a matchup. It's a very unique matchup for teams because they can play together, they can play separately, they can play inside and out. Both of them can. Emma can even go off the dribble. She's like a legit 3-level scorer, and then Morgan is 3 levels with the one being that half court is the one other level.
Yeah.
So like she's got unbelievable range. Like, I don't know, Jordan, like they're different. Those are different. They're only sophomores too. It's crazy. They haven't even played like 40 games yet.
They are too, and it's funny because what Jaylyn kind of just explained is to what we've been saying, what we actually said about the men last year, collecting data, like putting together, like figuring out ways to win games now, so you have confidence in yourself to be able to do it down the line. And I think they're doing just that. Like that fourth quarter, the execution they had in that fourth quarter was insane. Like they were going off those pin downs, they were coming off like it was dribbling the lane, assists, and even like Tatum came in there pulling up like in the lane, like late in game. And I was like, wow, they're just execution. They were locked in. Emma was clearly locked in on a different level. Morgan was sniping. So, and even in the beginning too, I think it was Lauren who was hitting big threes at the beginning of the game. So I was like, yeah, they were locked in off rip. So yeah, when they're shooting like that, I don't know if there's many teams that like you're going to have to play as well as St. John's did to beat them. And that doesn't even work.
I mean, that's what I mean. Like when you look at Emma, Morgan, and Lauren, you have 3 high volume, 40% 3-point shooters.
Yeah.
Who can also score off the bounce, in the post, and in the mid-range area.
Yeah.
What do you do about that?
That's dangerous. That's dangerous.
That's nasty.
It is. It's so, and like they're so funny, like even just like their personalities, like I always say Morgan, like without even trying, has like by far the most swag on the team.
Oh, easily.
Like
it's
just like out there, just like let me just pull up real quick, like so swaggy. And then like you like see her personality, and like she's like not that. Just like when she gets on the court, it's like this like something like turns, you know. And same thing with Emma. Emma's like so casual and like, but it just like it's still like a boss, and like she gets on the court. And so like
I love at the end of the game when she got her 30, she was like, that counts. Make sure that counts. She knew she had to get her 30.
Everyone in the
knew.
She goes,
make sure that's in the book. Write that down.
Literally. So for sure, like it's so cool. Just like I said, to like see how they are on and off the court, and then like how they can like transform into these like awesome players on the court, and just like literally like murder people.
You know, it's like not literally. That's they didn't literally kill anybody, but you know, we talk about Jordan, like we talked about it before, like being like a basketball nerd, right? Where it's just like,
yeah,
you're a different person when you're not in the gym, and then when you're in the gym, it's just like, who is that? Because that's not even the same individual, right? So it's like it's almost like they're artists a little bit, like Morgan, Emma, Lauren, Tatum. Just entirely different, but you like turn the lights on, put 5 players across from them, give them a basketball, and it's like, oh yeah, it's on. You just
that's their persona. Like that's who they are when they get in the booth. They get in the booth and then they just
vibing.
That's who they are.
I mean,
Yeah. I love the way Tatum's playing too. And it's twofold because it's not only fun to see the level she's playing at, but it's just because she's been through so much injury wise. Like, and then last year was just nothing but bad luck, one thing after the next, whether it was COVID, injuries, there's just no rhythm to it. And, for her to have to experience that her senior year, I totally understand like her motivation and drive to like, no, we're running this back. I'm not going out like this. You know what I mean?
For sure.
And she's playing at a crazy level right now. I mean, it's her assist numbers are unprecedented. I don't think anybody in the last 3 decades has dropped dimes in a Creighton uniform the way she has. But you just go back and like watch them too. These aren't cheapies. She's not she's not dishing it out to like Lauren on the perimeter and then Lauren breaks somebody down off the dribble and then like the official scorer says dime. You know what I mean? It's like she's hitting people and it's time the shot goes up. Like on the wing, inside, off a cut. She's putting the ball right. I mean, the pass she made at the end of the shot clock to Emma.
I was like, how did that get through? I was so concerned because everyone's like, get it on the rim. Like you hear like Linda like, get on the rim. And all of a sudden it's like a laser. And I'm like, what? I'm like, how did that get through?
Seriously. Yeah. She puts that ball anywhere else. She doesn't get it off. You know what I mean?
Oh, no.
It's insane.
Yeah, she's been playing so well. And like you said, like it's so good to see that after everything she's been through. And like her, when she got hurt, like with her knee, like she missed a lot of that season. And so, so for her to be able to like do this, like her senior year and be a really good leader. I know she's been like a super good in the locker room person for the team as well. So it's super cool to see. And like, I'm just glad she's having the success now too. So.
Yeah. And like Jordan said, they've won in different ways, right? Like they've beaten physicality, they've beaten length, they've beaten speed, they've beaten good offenses. Like it is like they're just kind of they're just figuring out different ways to win games against different type of matchups. And it is going to bode well because they're going to face that, here the rest of the way when they have to play, like they have a stretch. Well, I mean, they have a stretch here where they just played Seton Hall St. John's. This is part of 5 games in 10 days. Thank you very much, Big East. They played Seton Hall St. John's, and then they're going to go Butler, Georgetown Nova, which are like, they're going to slow the game down. They're going to play more physical. I mean, if you get to 60 possessions, you're lucky essentially. So execution is going to be at a premium. And then to start February, they're going to host UConn, and then they're going to go to Marquette, to DePaul, 3 games in 6 days against probably the most physically talented teams, top 3 physically most talented teams in the league in 6 days. So like, there's challenges ahead for them, but again, when you watch the way they beat Arkansas, when you watch the way they played Drake, when you watch the way they played Nebraska, playing Iowa in, down to the wire in a closed scrimmage, like the way Iowa plays, beating Marquette like they did, beating Seton Hall like they did, St. John's. There's just a whole lot of different like ways to cut an onion there, you know what I mean? Like, and they've figured out how to do it,
For sure, yeah. I think they have like a lot of confidence right now too, and I just want them to keep rolling with it and like say I don't know. I don't want to like speak anything again. Say it's like say they drop a game like in like the near future, like they just need to be like, one game, like next game you gotta like squash it. Like you can talk about it, watch the film. We gotta be done with it. We can't let that like drag on because we have to like win these games coming up to boost our resume and be good in that aspect.
The good thing about them too is like they in these types of seasons where there's uncertainty, just getting games in matters. Like they're already 7-1 in the league. They've already crossed 8 games off and they've won 7 of them. The only loss is at UConn. So they're sneaking into position where they're going to apply some pressure to UConn, and I don't know how that plays out, but I'm willing to bet it's going to be more interesting than people think. Just because the way they're playing,
Oh,
the level they're playing at right now, isn't something that just like goes away. You know what I mean? Like you said, they might lose a game or two along the way, but that level isn't just going to disappear because they already know how to access it. You know what I mean? Like Jordan said, compiling data, like, you know how to play at that level, how to reach it, how to, get it in practice. You know what that feels like going into a game now. So with them being 7-1, this stretch is going to be interesting to see if they can, what their record is coming out of this 5 games in 10 days, where it's going to test their depth. It's going to test their stamina. It's going to test their sharpness. It'll be interesting to see how they come out of that, because I can't imagine like a season derailing if you get to like 9-2 or 10-1. Like, I think you have enough momentum behind you at that point to roll on through the final 2 months of the season. Sometimes it just carries you like that,
For sure.
I think they have enough. I think to both, like, just connecting what both of you guys just said, it's just like they have an identity, like they know who they are, and so just I think within the next 5 games, it's like if you are confident in that going forward, they shouldn't have as many problems. Like they'll be fine as long as they stick to what they're doing.
Sure.
Yeah, because it's like, I mean, Jordan, it's like the year you guys won the league. You won at Nova, then you lost to Providence, right? Like, or you didn't just kill road trips, right? It wasn't until like February came around, then it was like, all right, we beat Seton Hall on the road, beat Marquette on the road.
Exactly.
Okay, now we're clicking. But even still, you went and lost to St. John's on the road at the end of the year, came back, beat Georgetown at home, beat Seton Hall at home, still won the league. So, I mean, like, setbacks don't have to derail you if you've got a good rhythm going. And that's what I think this team has right now, is just a really good rhythm. They've got multiple scoring options that just, they understand how to get them rolling. Like, look at Emma Ronsick, like 28.5 points a game this weekend to win Big East Player of the Week. Her prior 4 games, her high was 10 at UConn before, and then before that it was 3 single-digit scoring performances. So you know what I mean? But Emma can score, right? So all you got to do is like just get her back into her spots, like keep giving her confidence, and it'll come back. You know what I mean? It's a law of averages. She's a 20-point a game scorer.
Exactly.
So if she's single digits here, okay, well, there's going to be an outburst somewhere, and Seton Hall and St. John's were on the wrong end of that. So that's just kind of how it goes. Like Morgan Molly, same way. First half against St. John's, couldn't really get into a rhythm. St. John's did a good job of crowding her shot. And in the second half, she gets 1 to go, and it's like, okay, snowball time.
Yeah, floodgates have been open.
Because you're going to get tired, and I'm going to get loose. So, like,
yeah, exactly.
So that's what I mean. This offense is different, because I think it can go through stretches where it's not looking good. They're not executing. They're not scoring efficiently. They're turning the ball over maybe some. And then all of a sudden it's like, nope, here comes a spark, and a couple shots go down, and then everybody starts fueling off of that. Like, that's what I see with this team. So yeah, like 1 or 2 setbacks isn't going to hold them back. I think they're in a pretty good rhythm right now. So
they got a squad. Got a squad.
That's all for, I ain't got anything else. Those are my Big East takes. Anybody, we leave anything untouched?
No, I'm mad at Seton Hall. Seton Hall needs to get their shit together if they want another compliment from me for the rest of the year. They got to really show me something, because they're not getting anything.
They already beat UConn. That's not good. That didn't last very long.
Yeah.
No, that only lasts you about 2 games, and they lost those 2 games. So I'm gonna need them to do some more for me. I'm also on this. I'm gonna stop poking the Nova Bear for a few weeks as well. Yeah, and then we'll go from there. Second half. I'm still gonna wait till second halves of Creighton games to tweet about them, because first halves give me too much anxiety. But yeah, that's my update. That's all I got.
That's fair, very fair. Here in a little bit, I'm gonna have to be like recording these or watching them back, because the time difference is gonna be messed up. So I'm going to. I also like. I'd much rather watch them in person, because for some reason it makes me more stressed out, like watching it on TV, where I can like be in my like home and like yelling at the TV and just like making my anxiety even worse, versus like I know I'm like in front of people, so I have to be like more chill and like not as stressed. Like St. John's, I was sitting there and I was just like pretty chill, and I was like, this is stressing me out, but I'm just sitting here, like it's gonna be okay. Whereas if I would have been watching that like here, I would have been like, like unleashing, you know?
Yeah.
Like how is she doing that? Like and stuff like that. So my anxiety will be up for the next couple of months, not being able to watch it.
Jaylyn, you need to hit up Jahen's Manigat and get his like expertise on a setup, because he's got a very unique game day setup for his overseas watching of his Jays. So yeah, he'll help you figure it out so you can so you can go wild and get a full game day experience away from Omaha.
Seriously, I'm gonna I don't know. That might even like make the anxiety even higher. I don't know if I want that. I'm going to be like, all right, I'm sitting in bed, like, let's turn the game on. I don't know. We'll see.
You'll figure out a routine.
Like, you know, Rocky 5 when he's watching like the dude fight and he's just like beating the crap out of the punching bag at the same time. Like he's kind of like living vicariously through his boy. Like Jaylyn will be in the gym, just like, you know, watching like just like I'm gonna cross over, bust a 3 real quick just to get it out of my system, and then like watch 5 more minutes and then like get another rep. Right. And like, yeah, that's how it
I don't know. She'll be going if it's like at 3 a.m, but yeah, maybe if it's like an early morning thing, she just happens to be in the gym, throw it on. But I don't know if she's gonna wake up out of her sleep just to go be like, yeah, let's hoop because Creighton's on TV. No,
there's a couple games in Russia where it was. So I watched like definitely the women's games, but one of the men's game, it was KU Creighton that I had to stay up. So it started at like 1:30, and that game was like super stressful. And I'm like, I really should sleep, but like at the same time, I don't know, like I want to watch. So then I was watching the first half and was like, I can't do this. Like I was like, I have to just like shut my computer. I'm like, I need to go to bed, because if I stay up, then I'm gonna just like be up for like the rest of the like morning and like not sleep. I'm like, I can't. So then I go to bed, wake up, and I'm like, okay, like maybe I should have stayed. I don't know. Maybe I should have.
So it's you were the good luck, because they were up in the first half, if I remember right. So it was your fault, is what you're telling everybody.
All in Russia. If they just the fences, you know.
It's all right. We'll bring Russian Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
Do you avoid spoilers, or do you just like hop on Twitter and find out what happened? Gosh, crap, and then catch up.
For that game, I just like it was all over Twitter, so like I could not.
Yeah.
But it's hard. It's like I just want to know so bad, and then I'm like, okay, then I'll see like what went well or like what went wrong versus like watching it all over. I don't know. So.
Yeah. Well, we'll just leave Creighton fans and listeners with this little bit of information. Jordan's Patriots got housed and Jaylyn's Chiefs won. So I don't know what the relevance of that is, but I just wanted to see Jordan's face on camera when I said it. So just a reminder.
Yeah, no, when we tried to kick this off, I was really appreciative to have Jaylyn here, because I needed, you know, someone who had good fan experience this weekend, like to, you know, get us through this podcast, because I'm still stuck rooting for Tom Brady-less Patriots team. And it hurts. It hurts sometimes.
Yeah.
This weekend was one of those times.
Great weekend overall for my squads.
Yeah, here it is. DC, this is what I was waiting for. This is what I was waiting for.
Sitting pretty, just, you know, enjoying the week, not super stressed out, you know. Just solid over here.
That's awesome. Yeah. People aren't texting you like, are you doing okay? No one's hitting you up randomly at like 1 a.m. being like, hey, did you cry yourself to sleep tonight? Because those are the texts I'm getting. That's what my phone looks like.
So I'm about to put Peacher on blast right here. So the trainer for the women's team, she's a Cowboys fan. And so yesterday I text her, all I do. It wasn't even over yet. So like I kind of was like kind of early in this, but I just 3 dots. 3 dots is all I said. And she goes, don't be coming in here talking shit, blah, 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 blah. In this message. And I was like, I didn't say anything. We got 3 dots. 3 dots. Like, you better watch out because your Chiefs, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, we'll see. It'll be fine. Game is fine. And she's like, all I know is like Creighton girls, like we won today. So as long as that's fine, like that's fine. Cowboys.
I love it because that's so Cowboys fans' favorite thing to do is when you talk shit about the Cowboys is to throw like your favorite team is gonna lose like right back at you.
Yeah.
And then they don't, and then they're even more. You're like, now what?
She's like, I was happy. Like, I would have been really mad if Creighton, if like we would have lost and Cowboys would have lost, but I'm okay. I'm okay because Creighton won. I'm like, oh yeah.
Yeah, and I had a Creighton men lost to Xavier, and then the Patriots lost, and now I just have pain. That's all I have.
Yeah, all you have is pain. You poor Boston sports fan. You never won anything in your life. Well, I mean, here's the thing though. Like that, you know, I started a fire there, but like at the end of the day, there's peace because Jordan, you hate the Buffalo Bills with a passion. So
I do. I'm very excited.
Jaylyn gets to handle that business for you. She gets to, you know what I mean?
Yeah. My guy, my homeboy gonna hold me down. My homeboy, he gonna hold me down. He gonna beat the Bills. So then I can go talk junk to everybody who's like, and I don't even like these New England, not to go on a rant here, but there's like New England fans now that are like, oh yeah, let's let Buffalo should win the Super Bowl. Like let them, and that'll prove like what? No, that'll prove nothing. That'll mean that there's a Super Bowl contender in our division for the next however long, and I don't want that at all. Mm-hmm. So please, Patrick Mahomes, do your worst. I know you don't listen to this podcast at all, but please do your worst and destroy that Bills defense for me. Pick them apart.
I'm gonna be sending some good vibes to them, you know.
Yeah,
that's all I need.
Well, everybody, thanks for tuning in. We appreciate you guys listening, as always, to our sponsor list, Scurry and the Scrub Show. We appreciate Jaylyn Agnew for hopping on and giving us her takes, her time. She's a busy woman, so we appreciate it.
Yeah.
Of course. Thanks for having me on.
Goat. Always appreciate it. Always appreciate when a goat can come on a podcast.
That's right. We like to have some goats on the podcast more often. All right, everybody. Thanks for listening. We'll talk to you guys next week.